Well, he's back. Last year we did a retirement interview, what I thought was a retirement interview. He refused to call it that. Maybe that's because we knew what was going to be happening at the time. But he will be returning to compete in the LCS next year. I'm joined by Bjergsen. Thanks for joining. What happened?
I never used the word retirement.
Okay.
I said I'm transitioning into the head coach role.
I think that's true. I think you couched the I'm not retiring as I don't consider this a retirement because coaching is still competing, not like I might come back.
I mean, I didn't think I was going to come back, but I also know that pretty much everyone who retires, a lot of people end up coming back, even in traditional sports, and a lot of them end up saying, I'm never coming back, this is it, and then they come back. So I didn't want to be that guy.
Yes.
So thankfully I covered for my tracks.
Oh, I see. So in your mind, you've beat the system by avoiding the retirement stuff. Yeah.
Because at the time I felt like it was final.
Yeah.
And things just changed with time.
Well, let's get into things a little bit because I have tried to get information from our mutual hairstylist about what's been going on with you and the decision you've been making, but she's not said anything. So good on her. You must tip her well.
Did you see my hairdresser just to get information about my
offseason?
No,
I did not. She cut Acadian's hair first. And then
you just happened to start seeing her in the offseason when I became a free agent.
I did not. So I knew she cut Acadian's hair because I saw it on Instagram. And her husband, as part of the team here that works on the broadcast stuff, he's a great guy. And then when I went there and she's like, I said, oh, do you cut any other LCS people? And she's like, oh, Soren. And I was like, oh, did you hear the news about him? He might be coming back. And she was like, oh, I didn't know about that. And I was like, you don't have to tell me anything. But clearly she knew. So you've been tipping her well because she's good.
It's hard to hold back when you're at the hairdresser.
Yes.
It's a safe space.
Yes, exactly. Well, not anymore.
Apparently not.
Okay, so Soren, when did you know you wanted to come back and compete again as a player?
I think about 3-4 weeks into my off season. I came into the off season kind of with the mindset of I just want to go where I feel like I can succeed the most, whether that's in a head coach or a mid lane position. So I was kind of looking for both. But I started out just 3-4 weeks of grinding the game on my secret account because I wanted to not just be the guy who's a coach and then he's like, yeah, I can go back to playing. So I wanted to prove to myself, can I really sit down and play for 10, 12 hours a day? Do I still have that in me, that motivation, energy to just sit down and play the game? Because being a head coach is very different. The work that you're doing is very different. Whereas as a player, it's just, you play the game, you study VODs, it's very intense and focused on the same thing. And as I was playing those few weeks and preparing for Worlds and watching games, I think the spark just kind of came back to me and it pushed me more towards looking for player positions and less coach positions. Just the more I was playing, the more I kind of got the feeling back that I wanted to play.
And was that the first time this year that you felt that way? Because there's all these memes that have come out from the behind the scenes footage of you watching the games as a coach, and maybe something's going top bad at the game and you're just So I don't know if there was a moment where you had felt maybe multiple moments even where you're just I wish I was on the Rift right now, actually able to compete in this game rather than, doing draft and then handing it off to the 5 guys.
Not really throughout the year, maybe in playoffs, because the meta in playoffs is very good for me as a player. It's a lot of my favorite champions, TF, Syndra, Irelia, Ryze are all really strong. And I was like, oh man, this is the meta is so good for me. And I felt honestly, the meta this whole year would have been really good for me because there's a lot of champions that came in and out of meta. And I think one of my strengths is my flexibility in champion pool. But I was really committed to just doing at least this 1 year of coaching. I was never going to step in or take PoE's place or try to go to another team. This entire year I was going to commit to coaching. So I didn't really think about it until maybe the very end where I was starting to consider, do I want to go back to playing? Do I want to play mid? Do I maybe want to think about playing another role in the game? But I was just trying to do the best job that I could as a coach for the whole year.
Yeah. Okay, so then you have this realization that you want to come back. In that moment, do you realize what a big moment that is going to be for so many, what it's going to mean for you and how it's going to roll out into all this stuff? Because for those that don't know, we are at it's just like a short time after free agency.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when this is going to come out. We're figuring that out. But we're in the arena. You've been shooting stuff all day. There's people sitting in the stands right now. Not an audience, but like
hundreds of fans.
Hundreds of fans.
Live in the audience.
Yes, very quiet though. And
very respectful.
And like, so there's all this stuff that's being done because it's a big deal when you are coming back. Do you, in that moment where you're like, I think I want to play again, does it hit you how big of a deal it's going to be for fans, for teams, for the league, for the broadcast, etc.? Or are you just like, I think I'll play again?
More so the second part, yeah. I mean, of course, there's like, of course, I have my doubts. Like, how, am I going to be able to pick the game up right away and play at the level that I want to? After, I mean, I still played solo queue when I was a coach, but I mainly played other roles to increase my game knowledge around other roles in the game, so I could coach not just Power People, but help the other players as much as possible too. So I wasn't playing mid much all year. I was mostly playing other roles. So yeah, I wasn't really thinking about how impactful it's going to be or anything like that. Just mostly like, okay, I really need to get to work and start playing the game a lot, which is why I'm going to Korea tomorrow to play solo queue in bootcamp.
Yeah, I mean, we should say that you, and I don't know, maybe people will have figured it out by the time this airs, but you're going to Korea for you said 3 weeks or so?
Yeah.
And you're going kind of on your own. Though you have a friend that's joining, or an acquaintance, hopefully a friend by the end of this, that's joining in revenge, right?
Yeah.
You guys, I wish that there was a camera crew going with you guys, because it sounds like the perfect like buddy movie, like two strangers meet in Korea and become friends.
We're not strangers. We're friends.
Okay, friends. Regardless, it's very, very exciting. But you, in your mind, as a competitor, immediately think, okay, I need to get back in form.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, there's all these other things that have to ripple out, which is like, who are you going to play with next year? What is your team going to be? What does this mean? Like, we did an interview where you're like, yeah, I wouldn't do PoE like that. I wouldn't come back and take his spot. And clearly, you're not. Like, everything's sorted out in a different way. But at what point in time did you start thinking of next steps for not only getting in form on the Rift, but also finding out who you're going to be playing with, what your team was going to be, all those questions that come out afterwards too?
Oh, like pretty much right away. Because this is my first time going into free agency. So I started off just interviewing a lot of agents because I've never been a free agent before. So I'm not going to pretend like I know how to navigate that. And also, I don't think I would do a very good job like negotiating and representing myself in that way with like contracts and stuff. So I just wanted to get an agent right away. And I started working with Olivier, who helped me a ton. And like I said, pretty much right away, I started, I got permission pretty early on from TSM to talk to any team that I wanted to, which is, I really appreciated. And I was looking at pretty much as soon as the season was over, and they let me for both player and coach positions. So it was pretty much right away. And then as I talked to teams and I started being more sure that I wanted to play, then we kind of eliminated the coach options and focused on the playing offers.
On the competing side. You mentioned you've not made it, or you've never gone into free agency before. You made the decision to this time. What was the motivation behind, like, now is the time to actually try and test the waters of free agency compared to previous years when you might have had the opportunity?
I think just for a really long time, I felt like TSM was like really ahead in terms of how they provide for their players. And I think they're still really at the top in terms of just everything they provide to make the players perform better and take away any like unnecessary responsibilities. And just talking to people from other orgs, I think like years ago, like 2-3 years ago, I felt like the other orgs maybe weren't up to par. But now I think I'm at a point where I'm like mature enough, and I know that the orgs have caught up to the point where I just really want to be on the best team and the best roster and the best org, whatever I can find. And for the longest time, I just felt like that was TSM, and TSM was providing all of the best things. But I didn't come into the offseason, what's it called? Anticipating to leave TSM, but I wanted to just have all my options open and be able to look at like, this is what this team is going to look like, this is what this team is going to look like, and then just go to the best team. I mean, it just makes sense, right? It's like, I was surprised with how many people actually wanted to work with me this offseason, and it gave me a really privileged position of like, I could just see how the rosters play out and then go to the team that's the best team.
You were surprised at how many people? I assume everybody was like, here, let's all fall over each other to like offer Bjergsen whatever it is he needs. We'll go recruit all these other players. You're such a prolific player. You've had so much success. I'm surprised that you are surprised that a lot of people wanted to work with you.
I mean, I went 06 to the Worlds, and then I was a coach for a year. So
that's true.
I wouldn't.
That's true.
I wouldn't take it personally if teams were like, "Oh, I think we're going to stick with the guy that we have."
Yeah. Well, was there a moment in time where you considered leaving the LCS? Like, were you open to opportunities outside of North America?
I definitely was talking to LEC teams, multiple LEC teams, and considering going to LEC. Obviously, it would be a big change since I've lived here for so long, and moving back to Germany, where I was when I was in EU LCS back in 2013. But I was at a point where I was open to it, and it would just depend how good the rosters are and how the rosters compare to the teams that I could get here in North America. And honestly, just the roster that Liquid ended up getting was kind of a no-brainer for me to join compared to the other offers that I had.
So you say that, but there's going to be a lot of fans that come out and be like, he could have gone to LEC. Doesn't he know LEC is so much better internationally than LCS? Like, you could have been on a team that could be in the World Finals. LCS never does that. So I guess, what was that ever a factor in your mind? Were you, because I'm sure, you getting back into it, I'm sure you'd love to perform better at Worlds and have all that stuff. So I guess on behalf of those fans, I'll ask, why stay in the weaker region?
I mean, it's like a tough thing. Obviously, LEC didn't really perform to their usual standard this year, but that wasn't really a large contributor to my decision. It's mostly just the roster that I would be playing with and the circumstances that I would be playing in. I still think that a lot of the LCS or some of the top LCS orgs, outside of maybe the very top LEC orgs, generally provide better for their players and help eliminate outside distractions and just focus on help you just focus on performing. And I think looking at the LEC offers I had, obviously not every LEC team wanted me, and just out of the options that I had, the TL roster was just by far the best one.
Gotcha. Okay. So I know there's always some question about how much people want to get into like the off-season stuff, but I am kind of curious. What was it about Team Liquid's offer? You said the roster, but I mean, what were those behind-the-scenes conversations like? Was there a point in time where you weren't sure any of these teams? Like, were other teams putting together really compelling rosters? Because obviously, not everyone knows all the pieces. When it starts off, it's like you might not have known, for instance, the players that were going to be coming to Team Liquid at first, and maybe Evil Geniuses or Cloud9 are trying to put together some of the stuff. So I guess, how much of the behind the scenes can you give us on what those conversations were like with Team Liquid and what sort of that roster stuff was happening? I don't know how much you had to say in, for instance, the players you wanted to play with.
I'm not sure how much I can say, but I was in conversations with multiple teams for a long time in the offseason, so I didn't just commit to TL right away. I really wanted to go to the team that had the best roster. And at times, other teams were looking promising. Obviously, TL has Core, which is like a huge piece and a guy that I really want to play with. I mean, he's just been kind of gapping my supports for a really long time. No shade to them. Core is just an amazing player, and I've only heard great things about him from staff and players that have worked with him previously. And yeah, I can't really give too much away, but I was at a point where I felt pretty confident that TL was the best roster, and most of the pieces had fell into place in other teams where I could say that pretty confidently, and that's when I decided to move forward with TL.
I have to ask. It's been said that there was one player that you wanted to play with. Was that Core?
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of people had that suspicion, and so I think a lot of people now, especially having you confirm it, are going to be excited to see what the two of you guys can do together next year. All right. Well, now that you are back, how long can we expect you to stay? I guess is another question, because I don't know if you think like these are the, you're like, okay, I'm coming back for one last hurrah. These are like the later years of my career, or if you just have like if there is no end in sight for you in terms of how long you want to compete as a player now that you've returned.
I don't know. I'm not really like, obviously I didn't plan it out very far because I went into head coach and then I came back to playing a year later. So I'm just kind of taking it a season at a time. But I don't want to say how long I'm going to play or how long I'm not going to play. It's just as long as I'm motivated and passionate, and as long as I feel like I can still be the best. I think when I'm at the point where I feel like I don't have it in me to perform at the top level, there isn't really much point in me playing. And then I could definitely see myself transition back into a coaching role, because I did really enjoy coaching. I just felt like I still have it in me to be a top player. But I think when that time comes where I feel like I don't have it in me anymore, whenever that is, that's probably when I'll move on and look to do something else.
Has taking the year off and coaching changed your perspective as a player? Do you think you're going to be much different now once you're competing again on the Rift?
I have more respect for coaches now, yeah. It's a really hard job. And I don't think I realized really how hard it is and how many balls you have to keep afloat all the time. I think it also really helped me kind of strengthen my view and philosophy around the game. Because in order to teach, you have to really know how to explain it and teach people in a very simple way that multiple people can understand. And just getting to watch the games a lot from the outside, getting to constantly watch my team scrim and have more time to watch VODs of other teams. Both seeing how the team is playing as a whole, but also how the teams are facilitating the mid laner and what resources the mid laner needs and what resources the mid laner doesn't need. I feel a lot more prepared to kind of lead the game, especially in mid game, and having a strong understanding of what my role is and what I need in mid game.
I think, on that topic, there is a lot of assumptions sometimes, or this sort of stereotype that, as you get older, you're going to get worse. So I'm wondering if you look at your career and you say, my best years are ahead of me, I can be better as a player than I have been in the past, or if you're subscribing at all to the theory of maybe your reaction time goes down or anything like that. I don't know if...
I think that's just not true, the reaction time.
Okay.
But, I think for the longest time, if anything, what was holding me back is that I was balancing leading my teammates and making sure that they were doing the right thing with my individual play, but I didn't have a strong enough, consistent vision throughout the game that I could do that effectively. I think so. I was kind of scrambling to fix things on the team side, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted and what I needed at different times. But I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't always have all the answers. I'm not saying I have all the answers now, but I think I have a much better idea. So I think that it's going to be a lot easier for me to focus on my individual play, because I already have a pretty clear view of how I want to be facilitated and what I need from my teammates and what I want to do at different points in the game.
I mean, it's been said before that during your time on TSM, and I know you've kind of disputed the idea that you were secret Coach Bjergsen or whatever, but at the very least you were the captain. And I remember even in the non-retirement interview we did last year, you talked about what you just said, right? That you went to Worlds and you were trying to figure out, you were trying to help the team, but then also trying to focus on your own stuff. With the Team Liquid lineup and roster that you have, do you feel like you will now just be able to be I am not a leader. I am just going to focus on who I am, in the mid lane, doing my thing. I'll work with the rest of my teammates, but is this the moment where you get to just relinquish all involvement in leading the team?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think it's just really ingrained in me at this point. And I think when you are a leader and you're able to vocalize and advocate for what you need in the game, that's also how you're going to look the best. Not just being silent and only focusing on your own individual play, because you need to tell your teammates what you need and when you need it, and talk to them and have conversations and have discussions and disagreements with your teammates. And if anything, I feel like I'm in a much better position and much more experienced and able to do that better after a year in coaching.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in a room right now, and I see out in front of me.
We are in a room, yeah.
Some of the LCS creative folks, the people that are going to be trying to figure out what the broadcast looks like next year, and I can see when I talk to them, they're salivating at the idea of Bjergsen TSM rivalry, and they're going to push that really hard. I will on my show. What are you going to push back against that? Are you going to try to avoid any kind of Bjergsen TSM rivalry stuff next year? Are you just I don't want to deal with that?
No, I mean, of course I want to destroy TSM.
Nice. Okay. So you're in on it.
I mean, I think it's natural.
Yeah.
when you leave.
I mean, I've interviewed players before that are like, "Oh, there's no hard feelings. Everything's fine."
I mean, there aren't hard feelings, but that doesn't mean I don't want them to lose, especially against me.
Okay, gotcha. What is your motivation there in wanting to beat them or destroy them? Like, what is making you excited? Is it like Spica's trash talk on Twitter? You're just like, I don't want to give him that.
Oh, he's gonna trash talk for sure if he ever wins against me. I don't know. I don't know if I've really figured out what the motivations are. I think it would just feel really good. I mean, I think anytime you've been with a team for that long and you go elsewhere, you want to prove that, like, how big of a part I was of the organization, and now that you guys have lost me, I'm going elsewhere and I'm shitting on you on a different team. That just sounds like it'll feel really good.
Yeah. You have had the benefit throughout all of your career of one of the strongest, most vocal fan bases in the TSM, fans.
Uh-huh.
Are you worried at all of facing their wrath? Do you think you've taken them all with you? Or are you now like, oh, what TSM fans? They're all Team Liquid fans now? I mean, what are your thoughts of whatever you think of that? Because you mentioned you frequented the TSM subreddit before and that type of stuff, so.
I mean, hopefully a portion of them were Bjergsen fans and will continue to follow me. But I don't think that the TSM fan base is really that, like, ruthless or anything.
They're passionate is, I think, the way I would describe them.
Yeah. I have seen some of them like post the GIF of where Deficio says, "Fuck you, Bjergsen."
Yeah.
Like at
the
me.
old ancient one, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I appreciate. That shows they've been longtime fans since, 2013 or something.
Yes.
Or 2012. I wasn't even old enough to play in LCS when he said that.
Yes.
But it's all in good fun. I mean, if TSM does beat us, then they deserve the opportunity to talk some smack, and then hopefully I'll get them back at a later time.
I have talked to people on Team Liquid who told me that, like, you came in and they gave you like big presentations on like the company values and the direction that the company is going and all that stuff. I think so many people associated you with, I mean, you were a TSM franchise player. And in a league where right now there's just a lot of mercenaries, there's a lot of people that are switching around. So I guess I'm kind of curious, like, how, like, do you see Team Liquid as like your future? Are you, if you decide not to compete as a player again, do you see yourself coaching here? Is this like the org that you'll be a part of? Or, I mean, is this is it really about just the roster for you? Is it like, this is the best roster, this is why I'm here?
Well, it's really both. It's like, I definitely aligned with Steven and Dodo as well. I mean, I think you can just tell over the years that TL's number one priority is winning, and they're always trying to build winning rosters. And I think also their brand aligns with mine a lot. I feel like they're like a very respected organization. They're not really like over the top in like a goofy way. I think they're very similar to my personality, I would say, where they really care about competition and taking the sport very seriously and like giving it the respect that it deserves. And they really try their hardest to win and build competitive rosters and succeed both in NA, but also like it's really important for them to perform internationally for the North American fans. So I could definitely see myself being here for a long time.
Are there any, and as we record this, I think offseason is still shaking out, but are there any mid laners that you're excited to be facing?
Yeah, Jensen.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, actually, I think if Jensen doesn't play in LCS, that would be just crazy, and orgs need to wake up.
Is there any part of you that feels guilty for stealing his spot? Because that is the way some people have positioned it.
Because
you know what?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad, but it's not really my decision or like responsibility. It's just, I'd just be really surprised if Jensen doesn't play, because I think Jensen and I were always competing with each other to be the best mids in LCS, and I don't really see any other mid laner in LCS that's going to be just better than Jensen to play. So I don't know if it's an issue with like buyout or salary or something like that, but if it's based on performance and they have the ability to pick him up, I don't understand why they wouldn't. Pretty much any other team.
I mean, we talked a little bit about the TSM rivalry, but oftentimes there's been a Bjergsen versus Jensen thing over the years. It sounds like there's just mutual respect on both ends, because even as perhaps in the past, Jensen has been, I think, publicly salty or critical of the claim you've gotten. he's said nice things about you as well, and seems to have a lot of respect for you. And seemingly, it seems like it goes both ways. Or I don't know, maybe you are just like, I want him back so that I can stomp him again. You know?
No, I mean, I think over the years we've gone between like disliking each other and having respect, or maybe at the same time. Like you can kind of dislike someone in certain ways, but still have respect for them. But just I think my respect has just grown for Jensen more over the years, especially when I was coaching and I was tracking like player solo queue. This year, Jensen was playing an insane amount of solo queue, especially in spring split, like spring playoffs. I think I was playing like 50, 60 games a week, which is tough in NA because the queue times get pretty long towards the top of the ladder. And in spring playoffs, I think he was playing like so well in the matches as well, both against us and in the final, even though they didn't end up winning. Which is just makes it even crazier that he might potentially not play, I think. Because he's obviously shown he has the motivation, he has the skill, he has the ability to perform on stage, and hopefully I get to play against him.
He's the only one you're looking forward to facing? Fudge is rumored to be going mid lane.
That would be fun.
You don't want to face off against Fudge?
I'd be down to face off against Fudge, yeah.
I mean, I think the other one that springs to mind is you were previously coaching a mid laner who is going to be in the league right now.
I really want to beat Tristan. That would be a lot of fun.
Well, why would it be so fun? Just because you coached him, or have you guys had like even disagreements around like is he like, oh, this is how you play it, and you're like, no, this is how you play it. I don't know.
No, we didn't really have strong disagreements. Obviously I got to know him pretty well, and I know how he is as a player, and it's just always fun like beating people that you work with, but especially beating like the mid laner that I've worked with, and I tried to teach him everything that I know. I would just want to come back and show him that I can still do it better.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about Team Liquid next year. How good will this team be within the LCS? We can start there.
I mean, I think if we don't win the LCS, it's definitely going to be a disappointment or an underperformance with this roster.
Okay. Both in spring and in summer? You have to chew for it?
You really have to put me on the spot?
Well, I mean, you're back. You know, we have to start asking you these tough questions. You got to avoid some of this as the coach previously.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really like to get ahead of myself. So we'll start off winning spring.
Okay.
And then summer rolls around, we'll do our best to win summer too.
I like how you're more certain of spring than summer. You're like, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the first chance we have, we'll win. It's the second whatever.
I just like taking it one split at a time.
Yeah. Well, and part of the reason I ask is because obviously a very different team than Team Liquid has had before. Brand new team for you. And so I don't know if you anticipate that there's going to be a lot of like build-up time for this lineup as you guys are getting ready to take off, or if you're very confident in your ability to start taking wins out the gate,
It's tough to say. I think we have a lot of experience and vocal players, and it might take a bit of time to align on ideas on how to play the game, because it's going to take a little bit of time for we have a lot of experience as well from many different like top teams, and I think every top team does different things very well and other things less good, and we need to just get the best stuff out of every player and with our coaching staff, and that might not be in the first 2 weeks of playing. So I don't know how we'll do in lock-in. We might do very well. We might not. Sometimes these things take time, and we haven't even scrimmed yet, so I can't say how strong we'll start. But I'm really confident that once we get things rolling and we get some time to work together, that we'll be a really strong team.
I know you said you don't like to get ahead of yourself, but there's a lot of reactions that I've seen to this roster online that have been saying like, "Hey, this is the best team LCS has ever built." Like this is the greatest lineup. We get to see Core and Bjerg back together, or not back together, but together for the first time. And Worlds is in North America next year. So I guess I'm curious. Do you think? I mean, there's even stuff like the new server that Riot is spinning up for this stuff. Do you think that fans should start raising expectations for North American performance internationally with all these factors coming together? You guys coming together, solo queue hopefully getting a better situation, Worlds in North America, no jet lag.
The solo queue thing, we'll see. I was always so hopeful with all the in-house stuff, and I put a lot of effort in setting it up multiple times, and players just don't play consistently and continue to play. But I am hopeful that the solution will hopefully be better, and that players will really participate and kind of use it as a replacement for solo queue, at least during peak hours where because of course the queue time is going to be longer on that server or whatever, how they do it. But if that does go through, I think that will be beneficial. We get to practice in a lower paying environment, and the games will probably be higher quality on average. For the international expectations, I don't know, man. I need to make it to the international events first.
Fair enough. I mean, this roster, I feel like a lot of people assume you will. So,
yeah, I just don't want to take anything for granted or make any assumptions, because I have done that in the past in my career where I was like, we don't need to focus on doing well in North America. Let's start preparing for MSI. Let's start preparing for Worlds. Let's play these different team comps. And then my team didn't even make it.
Yeah.
And I think these super teams, you can definitely come in with the wrong mindset that, it's going to be really easy. We have such good players. It's going to be so easy. I don't want to come in with that mindset, because I see that as really the only way that we fail and we don't meet those expectations. So,
all right. Well, I always ask you at the end of every interview if there's anything you want to say to anybody. This time there are Team Liquid fans, there are LCS fans, there's maybe some salty TSM fans. This is your camera. If there's anything you want to say to anybody.
What's up, guys? Yeah, I'm coming back to playing. To all the TSM fans, I hope you guys will continue to support me and follow me. Or you can hate me too. It's all in good fun and for the entertainment of everyone. So, I hope this will make it a little bit more exciting for you guys to watch LCS or to watch Team Liquid. And I hope that we can perform in a way that will make you guys proud.
Soren, thank you so much for sitting down. Great to have you back competing on the stage in the LCS.
Thank you, Travis. Your hair looks good.
Thank you. Yours does too. I wonder why. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS leading into next season right here on my YouTube channel.
Holiday season is almost here, which means that there's great shopping opportunities over at Alienware. That's right. They've got their new R13 and R14s that are out. And guess what? I just want to ask you that whenever Black Friday comes up, or Cyber Monday, or Deals Tuesday, or Awesome Wednesday, whatever, I don't know, that you check out alienware.com/Travis and then click over on the banner up at the top to head to their Black Friday deal, their holiday deals, because like maybe you're going to purchase something and this would be a great way for you to support the channel, is you purchase something and then you like tweet at them and let them know you did it because of me, and then I feel good about myself, and I can finally tell my family that they can be proud